In the 7th century BC, a small country, Rome, was founded on the Tiber River in the center of the Italian peninsula. It is said that Romulus, who grew up drinking wolf's milk, killed his brother and founded Rome, named after himself. Rome, like any other country, was initially ruled by a king, but as time went on, smart and powerful nobles began to form separate meetings to check the king. Their meeting is the famous Senate. Later, they drove out the king and established a republic. Simply put, it's not the king who rules the country, but several nobles who gather to rule the country. As time passed, Rome now began to conquer neighboring countries and jump into war to acquire more land and resources. By the way, at this time, right next to Macedonia, King Alexander already showed his ambition to conquer a large empire reaching Greece, Persia, and India at a young age in his 20s. Later, it is divided into each country by subordinates. Returning to the main topic, Rome first conquers the south and north nearby and seizes the Italian peninsula. Then, it challenged Carthage, a powerful force that was occupying the western Mediterranean. And that fight is the Punic War. These two countries will fight a big war 3 times. The First Punic War took place at sea. They fight each other over a huge island called Sicily, but the Roman army, which has nurtured a powerful naval force that can rival Carthage, wins the Battle of Aegids and pushes Carthage away. They drive out Carthage's power, acquire a huge indemnity, and the huge island of Sicily becomes a subject of Rome. In just a few years, a famous general named Hannibal appears in Carthage, and he invades Rome to avenge the defeat of the First War. It was the beginning of the Second Punic War. Hannibal directly led numerous elephants and troops and headed to the Alps, the land of ice. In fact, no one had ever crossed a place that no one had ever led before. On this journey, he contracted a serious eye disease, and since then he could not use his right eye well. Hannibal, who crossed the Alps and invaded northern Italy, defeated the Roman army everywhere, but his advance did not last long. And when he was pushed in the war by the strong resistance of the Roman army, Carthage had to surrender again and pay an indemnity. Now Rome wants to thoroughly ruin Carthage, so that they cannot resist and provokes the Third War. It was a war that completely cut off Carthage's breath. Even the women of Carthage cut their hair to use as a bowstring. But Rome thoroughly destroyed Carthage, putting an end to the war in 3 rounds. And the old land of Carthage becomes a subject of Rome called Africa. With this, Rome took control of the Mediterranean and maritime rights. In no time, Rome, which succeeded in conquering by force from the Italian peninsula, took Carthage, and the Mediterranean coast began to receive many slaves. As a result, rich people used these slaves to manage large farms called latifundium. This will cause confusion in society in the future, as rich people make more money and poor people continue to be poor. The gap between the rich and the poor causes instability in society. Even slave rebellions like the rebellion of Spartacus occur frequently. Spartacus, a slave gladiator, gathered slave gladiators, who fought well for the liberation of slaves and continued to provoke rebellions. Dozens of gladiators gather and Spartacus' power becomes stronger and stronger, to the point of taking control of southern Italy. But in the end, they are suppressed and 6,000 captured. Prisoners are publicly executed in the form of a cross on the Appian Way. After that, Roman society became more chaotic as it was divided into 2 factions. Nobles and plebeians, and opposition arose. Here, a figure emerges that transforms the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire. He is the one who laid the foundation for the birth of a king in Rome, which was ruled by the nobles. He is Julius Caesar. Belonging to the plebeian faction, he led the military and gave strength to the plebeian faction by occupying the Gallic region located in present-day France and the Britannia region in the UK, even within Rome, as the conflict between the nobles and the plebeian faction spread to civil war. Pompey, who was in power from the noble faction, was afraid that Caesar's power was gradually increasing. So he orders Caesar to disband the army. But from Caesar's point of view, if he disbands the army, he thinks he is dead anyway, and he just flips the board at this time. Caesar leads the army across the Rubicon River and attacks Rome. He completely drove out the noble forces and wanted to take control. The words he shouted when he advanced were the Dies Cas. Caesar, who won the civil war, solidifies his position as a powerful force in Rome with these various feats. Later, he gradually laid the foundation of the empire and succeeded in becoming the ruler of Rome. And people began to deify him by attaching the title Caesar. On the contrary, Pompey is threatened with his life and hastily flees to Egypt. Caesar, who chased him to Egypt, was fascinated by the queen of the place, Cleopatra, and got married. Later, Caesar was assassinated by Brutus, a politician he believed in, and ended his life when Julius Caesar, the supreme ruler of Rome, dies. Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus divide Rome into three and rule. Antony took the east, Octavian took the west, and Lepidus took Africa. But their peace did not last long. Rome declares war on Egypt, and Antony, who happened to rule the eastern region, is also fascinated by the Egyptian queen Cleopatra and betrays Rome and joins Egypt. By the way, Lepidus is removed soon and Octavian takes over Africa. Octavian declared war on the alliance of Antony and Cleopatra and fought a naval battle at a place called Actium. Decisively, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, emerged victorious. As a result, Rome once again dominated the entire Mediterranean, and Octavian was awarded the title Augustus from the Senate, becoming the first emperor of the Roman Empire. From this time, the Roman Republic effectively transformed into the Roman era of the imperial system ruled by the emperor. As time passed, tyrants like Caligula and Nero came to the throne of the emperor in Rome. However, during the reign of the 5 wise emperors, known as the 5 good emperors, Rome enjoyed its heyday for about 100 years. They chose competent people instead of their own sons to succeed them. And during the era of the 5 good emperors, the territory expanded and enjoyed relative peace. After the era of the 5 good emperors, with the rule of Commodus, in its later years, Rome began to decline. Within Rome, soldiers took turns occupying and killing the emperor, going through a period of confusion, where 25 emperors changed in 50 years. As conquest wars became frequent and the supply of slaves gradually decreased, wealthy landlords found it difficult to manage large farms. And in Northern Europe, the Great Migration of the Germanic tribes began over 200 years. They continued to invade south to take territory, including Rome and Greece, and Rome had to stop them amidst the chaotic situation. On the other hand, Theodosius, the Roman emperor, who did not prepare for the invasion of the Germanic tribes and devoted himself to religious policy, divided Rome into east and west before he died and gave it to his 2 sons. By the 2 sons, Rome was completely divided into the Eastern Roman Empire and the Western Roman Empire, as if they were separate states. Now Rome is on the path to downfall. After the division, the Western Roman Empire, which was relatively weak compared to the Eastern Roman Empire, completely gave up Gaul, Spain, and North Africa and became a territory of the Germanic tribes. Even the Huns, called the Whip of God, invaded together. Subsequently, the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire was deposed by Odoacer, the captain of the Germanic mercenaries. Odoacer, proclaiming himself king of Italy instead of emperor of the Western Roman Empire, caused the Western Roman Empire to collapse. Later, Charlemagne was crowned emperor of the Western Roman Empire by the Pope of Rome. But it was only a nominal Roman Empire, and could only be a different empire from the ancient Roman Empire. On the other hand, the Eastern Roman Empire also faced a tremendous crisis due to attacks from various tribes. But it barely survived and gradually accumulated national power centered on Byzantium, the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire at the time. This is the beginning of the Byzantine Empire we know. Later, Emperor Constantine changed the name of Byzantium to Constantinople. When the 6th century came, Emperor Justinian, who would revive the Byzantine Empire, appeared. He secured most of the areas around the Mediterranean, built the Hagia Sophia, and created the Justinian Code, laying the foundation for the Western legal system, bringing the heyday of the Byzantine Empire. However, this happiness did not last long. With the Islamic forces next door getting stronger and the Black Death hitting Europe, the Byzantine Empire began to shake. The territory was narrowed down due to continuous invasions from Persia, Avars, Slavs, Lombards, etc., from east to west. After 1,000 years of tumultuous times, the Byzantine Empire finally fell to the Islamic force, the Ottoman Turks, in 1453. The Ottoman Turks, who conquered the Byzantine Empire, changed the capital Constantinople to Istanbul, and this place remains a city in Turkey to this day. Rome, which started from a small village on the banks of the Tiber River, completely dominated almost all areas of Europe and North Africa, growing into a super-large empire. But the glory of the Roman Empire that seemed to last forever could not last.